And when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
And if we're talking tight ends and we're going into round 2, maybe round 3, give me Ian Thomas, please. Let's just do the damn thing.
Just based on giving his overall ability. Again, I like his arm. I think he can make every throw.
The pick at number 12 is in.
All right, we're back. Cover 1, the Draft Podcast. I'm Russell Brown, joining you here on a Sunday morning. Joining me today, Michigan State linebacker Joe Bachie. Joe, how we doing, my man?
I'm all good. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Appreciate you taking the time. I know it's been a crazy, busy, odd season of draft stuff just with this whole COVID-19. But, I hope you and your family are staying safe and just keep washing those hands,
Non-stop washing the hands. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But thank you for taking this time. And, let's start with really your high school days where you played. You're from Brook Park, Ohio. You were, according to 24/7 Sports, a 3-star recruit. Take that for what what it's worth. I never really buy into all the recruiting stuff. It is what it is. But Michigan State does this all the time. They'll take 2- and 3-star recruits and turn them out to be great football players. You ended up going there. You could have went to a couple of different schools. It seemed like Toledo, Illinois, but you went with Michigan State. Walk me through that recruiting process and why did you choose MSU?
Yeah, I knew I always wanted to play Big Ten ball growing up. It's the highest level of college football. I was always one of the top players in my area, in my school. So I thought that's where I belonged, and I believed in myself. I wanted to go to Ohio State growing up, being an Ohio boy. That didn't work out. So basically I turned to any other option in the Big Ten. I had 4 MAC offers at the time. I was just waiting for that Big Ten offer because Illinois actually pulled their Big Ten offer from me.
Oh, wow.
After having it for about a year. But I was waiting on it, and then Michigan State offered me when I went to a spring game. As soon as Coach D offered, I basically just said, I'm coming here. We're committing right now. This is what I want to do. I knew I wanted to play Ohio State. I wanted to play the Michigan, the Penn States, travel around and play at a high level.
Yeah, and you made, an immediate impression when you stepped on the field. I still, because I went to Michigan State, I've watched every game, and I remember the first game that really stood out to me, okay, who is this kid? And it was in 2017 against Iowa. You had 9 or 10 tackles, you had a fumble recovery, and it was you came out of a pile with the football, and it was all right, I'm going to circle this kid's name. And then it was every game, dude, you were around the football. And so, how when you watch, when I watch a lot of linebackers, they're switches either on or off. For you, it's every single game you are flying around and you're in on the tackles. You and Kenny are always getting your guys going, slapping hands, bumping helmets, stuff like that. How do you put that mindset on game day? And you never had you had some injuries, but you played through them. How did you have that every single game, that determination every single game?
Just a love for the game, really. I've grown up around the game. I've grown up competing. Always dreamed of being a professional. And that it was never really just football. It was just my lifestyle. I always wanted to be the best. I took care of my body, put the right things in it, ate the right stuff, worked out. Got good sleep, everything since 8th grade. And I just kept moving forward. I wanted to be professional. That's how I carried myself. And I knew every week I'd be ready to go on Saturday. I had a peak Saturday at noon or 3:30, 7 o'clock, whatever time it was. I had a peak at that time. And I just got myself so mentally ready from film study, taking care of my body throughout the week, just to go out there on Saturdays and, do my job. Don't let anyone else on the team down. And that was always my fear. So I know how much time goes into college football. 9 months of the year, you're just training or hitting against each other. And everyone on the outside only sees these 12 games that you play, but there's so much stuff that goes into it. And, once that game comes around, you're not going to get it back. So you better put everything on the field.
Yeah, well, you mentioned film study. It's something that when I was, I played in high school and I never really appreciated it as much. But now I'm like, I've coached it at the high school level. I've coached the youth level and stuff. And it's like, I really appreciate the film study. And then obviously just breaking it down all the time. But like, how do you go into film? I mean, I'm assuming it's probably you and the defensive guys with the defensive coaches, or maybe it's just you and the linebacker group or whatever. But I'm sure you watch plenty of film on your own time. How do you break that film down? Like, what are some things that you look for from the offensive line perspective, or from, offensive line, your offensive calls in general? What are some things you look for?
Yeah, I'll first off just start by, we do a great job as a team, as a defensive unit, trying to get film in, but realistically, you don't have that much time with each other. You got about 40 minutes before practice, and that time's usually taken up by watching the day before that practice and things we got to fix up. So a lot of the film study on opponents is on your own or with like a small group of guys, and that's what we were able to do. I was able to watch film with D tackles, D ends, safeties, anyone we had, I was able to watch film with them and we would study it. But I was always on a routine where Monday I'd come in and I would make sure I would watch like 3 or 4 games and just watch how the flow of the game was going. What were they doing throughout the game? What did they go back to? After a big play, what were they doing? And then Tuesday was always my day of watching every run that they had. Out of every formation, I had to watch everything before practice because Tuesday is a tough guy Tuesday. There's going to be inside run periods, and you got to be ready to go. So I better know everything that's going to happen before it happens. And just different formation, different alignments from the running backs, tight ends was a huge tell for me. And that's how I was able to, identify so many plays, whether it was a counter, just a zone play. And then Wednesday came around, and that was kind of our third down day. So I better know every pass that's coming from third medium, third long. What do they like to do? Do they like to get to the sticks? Do they like to run, vertical routes? Whatever it is, I better know that come Wednesday. And then obviously you clean it up Thursday, Friday, get ready for Saturday. But that was my routine weekly.
You played in the Big Ten, for the last 3 years and everything. Was there some teams that had like tendencies that were like you knew exactly what was going on with those tendencies? Like, was there one team that was really obvious? Like, what was it like, Northwestern with checking in their offense and all of that? What was a team that like really stood out that it was obvious?
I remember we can go back to 2017 Iowa, and I just remember them. They were kind of old school a little bit still. They ran double tights with a single back majority of the time, and you were able to tell whether it was going to be stretch or inside zone. And that's basically all they ran. I think they ran one power that year, and they ended up scoring on it. Like in the first 4 games, they ran a power against us, and they haven't ran one the previous 3 games, and they scored a touchdown. But, they were a team that was inside, outside zone. You just had to figure out what was coming when. You had to figure out the verbiage the quarterbacks use, and that's something that I always look for too. Like when teams are checking, like you said, Northwestern or something, what are they saying actually? You always see me walk up to the line when he's checking to try and get a piece of what he's saying. But every week, teams got something different. If the tight end's aligned a little closer in the box, if he's stacking the tackle, he's usually going to wham back across. If the running back's deeper, usually means it's going to be a downhill run. If he's flat, outside run release. So you just got to kind of just study the film. Every team's got a different tweak in their game. But for the most part, the spread offense kind of stays the same. It's just a numbers game. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's all about having numbers either to the inside, to the outside, wherever it might be.
Yep.
But certainly this year you took, in my opinion, and you only played 8 games, but you took a step in a different direction from what I've seen in previous years. I mean, you were definitely more productive behind the line of scrimmage. Just statistically, you had 3.5 sacks, which was a career high for you. Again, you only played 8 games. You were on pace for well over 100 tackles again for the 3rd consecutive year, which let me just say in the Big Ten, I mean, that's impressive stuff to do. I don't care what anybody says. And, I don't think you're getting the attention that you should be getting, in my opinion, as a top 100 pick in this draft. But either way, what were some things that you changed from, 2018 to 2019 to have that production just through an 8-game span?
Yeah, I lost about 10, 12 pounds from my sophomore and junior year. I was playing closer to 240.
Yeah, I was going to say in
And then my
2018
senior
you
year,
were. I don't mean to cut you
yeah,
off, but I was going to say in 2018 you were looking a little thick there.
yeah, I was definitely a little thick in 2018. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So, my off season, everything changed. I took my diet a little more serious, and I was playing about 228, 230 for most of the 2019 season, my senior season. And I think that was huge for me. Maybe just that half step that I needed a couple times to get in a passing window or to, get past the O-line to make a TFL, whatever it was. I think that helped me a ton. But just having such confidence in my game from playing 2 years already, understanding everything about the defense, what team's going to throw at you. And it just, I just kept trying to get better and better. And that's just kind of what happened. I was having my best year statistically through 8 games. So I would have been excited to see what a full season with 5 more games would have looked like.
Yeah, same here. Obviously, everything happens for a reason. I will talk briefly about it. You did have a failed PED test. Walk me through that process. I mean, what was it that popped up on the test, and how have teams really viewed it through the draft process so far?
Yeah, I just had to be upfront about everything. That was the main thing. Just be honest, be yourself. And I went up there and I said exactly what I did. And it was just a C4 pre-workout that I've taken before. A ton of athletes take C4. There's 2 different kinds, I guess. And I guess one is NSF, which is certified. And there's another one that I guess isn't certified. And it wasn't mine, but it was someone in locker rooms. We were all just getting an extra lift in one day. And I didn't have my coffee this morning. I'm usually a black coffee guy in the morning. Mm-hmm. But regardless, I go in there and I'm like, oh, whatever, give me a scoop. I've taken C4 before. It's not going to hurt me. I go in there, take it, play a great game against Northwestern. And then, boom, I get hit with a drug test Tuesday, which was 6 days after I took it. And it was still in my system, I guess, and it popped me. But I was in and out of that drug test. I had thought nothing of it. I thought it was perfectly clean. And that's what popped up. 3 weeks later, go by. I find out. I sit down with Coach D, our trainer, one of our head doctors, and they tell me, and I was blown away by it. I didn't know what to do. So I went downstairs then that day after I found out 3 weeks later, and I got tested again right away. So I'm like, there's no way there's something in me right now. We got to appeal this. So I went down there, started the appeal process. That sample that I took then 3 weeks after was perfectly clean. And, we brought that to the Big Ten office. We were hoping to maybe get back for the Michigan game if the appeal process went through. But, it's a tough process to beat right there. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, still, the whole appeal process is with everything. When players can get, immediate eligibility when they transfer, it seems like that goes through right away. And then something like this, it had to take forever. But I mean, you bring up something interesting, a drug test on a Tuesday. I mean, did you guys have to do that like every Tuesday, or was that something that just happened like once in a blue moon?
It was random. This was a Big Ten one. This wasn't a Michigan State. I think it was like every Monday or Wednesday. Like during a lift, there'd be listed drug test guys just because it was always random drug tests for street drugs.
Right.
And every school does that pretty much. But the Big Ten, the NCAA, they come in and you kind of get like a day or two warning just to sign a piece of paper saying you got to be in there at that time. But regardless, after you play a good game, there's a good chance you get drug tested. A lot of people know that. But, it's kind of what happened. I went in there. I thought it was perfectly fine, and I wasn't. So, that's how my career ended at Michigan State. But like you said, everything happens for a reason. My body feels great right now. Felt great coming out of the season. I graduated from Michigan State. I moved on, went to California to train. So I've been very productive these past 12 months.
Yeah, and it shows. You went to the combine. You had a killer workout there in Indianapolis. You ran the 40 in 4.67 seconds. You had a 6.9 three-cone drill, 26 reps in the bench. I mean, you had a really good day at the office there. Walk me through that experience. What was that like? And did you receive any advice from previous MSU players, like former teammates like Kaiir Willis when he went there? Did you receive any information from those guys on how to approach it and stuff like that?
No, I didn't. Not so much MSU guys, but when I was out training with Rep 1, that was my agency out in California. Mm-hmm. I just talked to a couple of guys that were out there that went there in the past. Bobby Okereke is actually one of the guys. He plays for the Colts now. He got drafted the year before.
Yep.
And he just said, just go there and just be smooth with everything you do. It's just football. And I went there and don't, try and rush through any drills. Be smooth. They're going to try and push you, scream you. But just, be yourself. Go through the drills nice and smooth, look good, and finish every drill, and it'll be fine. And that's kind of that was my mindset going into it anyways. But it was good just to hear from someone else who's been there. I've also heard from a couple guys in the past. Riley Full is one of my good friends, and he said it's going to be a long week, but just go there with a great mindset, and, good things will happen.
Yeah, and it did. I mean, obviously everybody meets with just about every team while they're there. It's very common. That's what happens at the Senior Bowl. I mean, you see guys in the hotel lobby talking with agents and reps and teams and all that stuff. But, I mean, out of all the teams that you talked with in Indy, what were probably the teams that you felt like were maybe the best fit or that were the most interested? Do you have a couple of teams in mind?
Yeah, a couple of teams who I've talked to there, who I continue to talk to a little bit. The Bengals have been real heavy on me. I've talked to them. I talked to a bunch of their coaches when I was there multiple times. The Redskins, the Raiders. There's a couple other teams that have been in and out, but those three have been there a lot. The Rams have been communicating with me a lot. So really just depends on how draft day goes, and you got to be happy with wherever you end up.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said before the show, you told me you're probably heading back to Cleveland in the next day or so. Does that make you a Browns fan?
It does, yes. I grew up in Cleveland. My high school and the Browns practice facility, there's no farther than a mile apart. So, I mean, that's home.
Yeah, well, hey, you never know. Maybe that'll be the team. I know, plenty of people in the Browns Twitter community that have been pounding the table for Joe Bachie to come home. So people are aware that you're a Cleveland boy. But
that'd be nice.
Like we talked about, you talked about Coach D a couple of times. I think the guy's a legend, an absolute legend. But how was it playing for a guy like Mark D'Antonio?
He was awesome. A lot of people see him as the hard ass who's the coach who doesn't smile, everything like that. But he's a great person. He is. He truly cares about the players. He cares about the coaches, everything. And I think that's what made MSU over the past 13 years when he was there so great and have such great years, because he just built such a foundation there with trust, with loving each other, that brotherhood, the chemistry, everything that he built. His resume speaks for itself. He did a great job there, and I'm very glad that I was able to be there in his time, compete for him, fight for him, and be one of his captains.
Yeah, it's crazy to see him gone, but a new regime is in. Are you excited about Mel Tucker and those guys that are there now?
Yeah, I've heard a ton of great news about Coach Tucker. I'm excited for it. Maybe it's a good time right now. Hopefully they can get some things rolling, get some momentum going back on their side after a couple down years. But he's got to be excited. Still Michigan State, still going to bring in and attract great recruits. So I'm excited for it. Excited for the new staff, a couple of the defensive guys that are still around there.
Yeah,
I was hoping to see when I got back in town, but the whole virus is happening right now, so I wasn't able to get in the building.
Yeah, and they've kept guys like Harlan Barnett, Coach Burton there, so it's going to be pretty cool to see some familiar faces. But for you, outside of football, what can we find you doing? I mean, obviously you talk about working out. I'm assuming we'd see you in a gym, but outside of all that stuff, where else?
Majority of the time, just hanging with my guys. Right now, I'm with Brian Lewerke. He's with me in my Airbnb. But in college, it was always me just kicking it with Kenny, Brian, my buddy Grayson. We had a house, and we would just always be sitting in the house, always hanging out, doing whatever it was in there. Just living a college life. And I loved Michigan State for that, on and off the field. It was just a great experience.
Was the house on Virginia
Where
Street?
I'd like to be – no, it wasn't. It was on Porter Street. But where I'd love to be right now is on a boat somewhere, getting some sun.
Yeah, it's starting to warm up here in Michigan, so we'll see. But
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else for you, man. I really appreciate your time. I guess I'll end with this. Obviously COVID-19's changed a lot of things. Like you said, you've been doing a lot of you had private workouts scheduled that didn't really go as planned, but what are some things that you'll be doing to try to get out, for the teams? And will there be any FaceTime meetings over, the next couple weeks?
The only FaceTime I've had so far has been with the Lions, but I'm sure a couple of those will start picking up here soon. I'm about to go put together a little linebacker pro day video. My agent thinks it'd be a good idea. I know a couple teams have asked about that. So just to put that together, send them out, and just, get through these next 3 weeks, see what happens, see where I'm going to be playing. I'm excited for whatever team that is, whatever city that is. They're going to get a guy who comes with everything and a lot of passion.
Yes. And I'm excited to see where you land, man. If you ever need something, let me know. I'll do what I can. I'm not that impactful, but I do appreciate your time. Where can we find you on Twitter, social media, all that stuff?
Yeah, you can get me on Twitter, Instagram. I'm on both of those. A little more than Facebook. Facebook's kind of just for family and friends back home.
Yeah, Facebook's becoming like the new MySpace. But, you guys smash the follow button. Find them on Instagram, Twitter. You guys, of course, can find me on Twitter at RussNFLDraft. But, Joe, you take care, my man. Be safe out there. We'll talk soon. For everybody else, you guys can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, wherever you go about your business. But search Cover One NFL Draft Podcast. But until next time, this is Cover One, the Draft Podcast.